segment.
Welcome, everybody, once again. I have the complete honor to be in the presence of someone who is very, very knowledgeable in astrology and very renowned. And so I just wanted to take this time to thank you for entertaining my little obsessions here.
Okay.
You know, I hold Selena in such a
High
great
regard,
light.
yeah.
And so today we're going to be talking about Yolanda Saldívar, which is the murderer, the one who took Selena's life. And I have to again acknowledge that with all due respect to Selena's memory, her legacy, her fans, her family, her husband, and just, I just want to shine another light that when you watch Forensic Files, you don't really get the whole information. And that's why I got really into astrology and criminal astrology. Yes, I want to focus on the criminals too, but mainly on the victims, because I want to be an advocate in some way for people who might potentially, unfortunately fall victim to such a horrible thing. And so, without further ado, once again, here is Edwin Lerner.
Well,
and
thank you, Leslie. I always say become learned in astrology with Edwin Lerner.
Yeah.
Anyway, going to Yolanda Saldívar. I'm going to say it. I say it a different way.
You say it your way.
But I'm not pronouncing it 100% right. But anyway, as many of you may know, she was the person that did murder Selena. And the thing about this is, of course, she says it's inadvertent, but most people don't believe that, and that she's just fabricating something because she's just trying to extricate herself from more time in jail, and it obviously hasn't worked up until this point. But anyway, I do think it was delivered. But anyway, we're going to get right to the heart of the matter, talking about Yolanda's chart and how it could have been relevant to certain murderous tendencies that she may have, and how it may have, some elements may have related more specifically to Selena's murder. The first thing I found was very interesting, very basic, fundamental part of the chart is that when I did Yolanda's chart, of course, I don't have Yolanda's birth time, so I had to improvise and do what is called basically a solar/sunrise chart, where I put the sun.
It's very mathematical.
Putting the sun by the ascendant and having the house position based on that time that has the sun by the ascendant. The first thing is that Yolanda, in this chart, she has Aries on the cusp of the 8th house. So if she be involved in murdering somebody, it could likely be more volatile, have more violence connected with it than most cases, more anger and acrimony. And that's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get to that more specifically. What's interesting is that 24 degrees Aries falls on that 8th house cusp. Selena was at 25 degrees Aries sun or close to that. Interesting how precise that was. And that it could indicate the sun being the focus in one's chart, the focus on this murder of Selena, and an Aries that was born right near the degree that is on the 8th house cusp. It's very interesting how that worked out that way. And another thing too is looking at Yolanda's chart. Of course, the 8th house is connected with death and murder as well. The ruler of the 8th house falls in the 10th house of notoriety, fame, and recognition. And sadly, she did get some notoriety connected with it and some fame. Sadly, infamy in this case.
Infamy.
And Mars being right there near the 10th house has Mars at 29 degrees Gemini, 29 degrees critical degree. It's about 29 degrees could be, I mean, I see that as the full culmination and energy of the sign and planet that it's associated with. Mars in Gemini, 29 degrees could be a full culmination. Very high-strung, excitable, angry energy, and I mean, in some cases, could be dual qualities that are in that as well. And so anyway, what do you want to say something?
Yeah, and also to add to what you just said, look at how close Mars in Gemini is to the MC, the midheaven.
Right,
and then it's right next to Black Moon
Lilith. It's still 16 degrees, but I'm going to get to the Lilith. Now, the Lilith in her 10th house in Cancer, that indicates, I mean, when you're talking about the Black Moon Lilith in astrology, it can show certain very dark, nefarious energy and looking at, but at the same time, it could show what really puts one in a strong state of fright and trepidation. The Black Moon Lilith in Cancer in her 10th house can indicate that she just wanted, what might have really put her in a state of fright is that trying to get out of, getting out of a situation which made her feel very safe and secure. Cancerian energy could be about safety and security in your comfort zone, and she had maybe a fear of branching out as far as her career goes. She resorted to stealing, I think, as an easy way out. The Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, it's also part, I mean, I'm considering part of a cardinal T-square configuration. It may be subjective. Some people may not use that. The Black Moon, you're talking about the cardinal T-square configuration. Well, if you look at the Black Moon Lilith, if you look at it with Venus, or looking at it actually with her Mercury.
Oh, wow.
You could say it's a long. You could say it's a long square.
It's in Libra.
And Mercury can be about thieves and thievery, and she also and she had it with Saturn in the 4th house. This was something.
Yeah, if you need a little.
Okay. What I wanted to, and the thing about it, and so it becomes an even more emphasized point in her chart, given that it is part of that cardinal T-square configuration. But what I wanted to jump to is that what I thought's interesting, and again in this solar sunrise chart of Yolanda's, is that she has a conjunction, a stellium, if you will, with Pluto and the Moon and the North Node in Virgo. Now, when you break down a stellium in astrology, some people may not know this. Yes, you are. It's a concentration of that energy, and it makes the sign that it's in more pronounced and emphasized, and it's a strong integration of that astrological energy working together. But when you break down a stellium, what you actually do is you can do it very systematically. You start out with the first planet, then you go to the next planet, then it leads to the next one. So I'll tell you by example, Pluto is in Virgo. That's the first point in that stellium. Pluto can be about murder and death. The Moon can actually be connected with the public, and sometimes it could be how one could be recognized. Then that leads to the North Node in Virgo. North Node could be where one's future and destiny is tied in. So the murder, starting out with murder, led to public recognition, sadly. And then it was really tied in with her future. It's in the 12th house of incarceration.
Okay, because I was like, I have North Node in Gemini. Okay, it's in Gemini. But it was Mercury ruled.
And given that this was Virgo energy, this was tied in with strong frugality, parsimony. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but anyway, and it's something. I mean, she could have meticulously planned. However, in this case, I think it was more. I don't think this was really. It might not have been planned really that long, but she did have it planned. Obviously, this situation. Virgo can be connected with crimes of misery. Now, I don't know if she was really in a miserable monetary state. She might have convinced herself she wasn't making enough money, so she, in her perception, that was tied in with some with a miserable financial state. But I really don't think she was in that situation, given that she was working for Selena. So she just.
But she was though, because she gave up her nursing career,
right,
to work for Selena, and then when it all came to the day, the weeks prior to everything happening, there was like major drama when it came to them finding out that she had been embezzling, and the father of Selena actually found out. He wasn't involved in Selena's boutique business. He was involved in her music. But when he caught wind that there was all kinds of funds missing, he confronted Yolanda with Selena in the room and Selena's sister. And then this lady went and bought the gun. And then, so I guess all this happened March 11th. So you said it was 2 weeks prior.
Well, you had that what it was is there was a full moon in Virgo like March 16th at that time. And that, and that, at that particular time, that was around, I believe what happened at that time, that was near that 8th house cusp of Selena's in her chart, which of course is shared resources at that time.
She was unsuspecting.
And it was by her Pluto as well, sadly. And this was something where at that point in time, I think that the actual true revelation may have come to Selena about what was going on, about somebody taking funds due to their own frugal nature out of her. Basically you could look at this as a shared resources situation, because she was entrusting somebody with resources that were connected with her. It was money. It was from the fans, I believe, right? That was going in there from part of it
and the boutique.
In the boutique. So it was two different.
So it was Selena's designing business, where she was designing clothes, and Selena was busy working with the whole sewing and designing, and so she needed someone to be in charge of all the other stuff, the numbers, like the appointments, and so she kind of became like her personal assistant. Right. And get this. This lady, Yolanda, she went and told all the employees, by the way, she was firing everybody. She went and told all the employees that they were going to buy Selena a ring for, appreciation or whatnot. And so they all chipped in. And then she gave the ring to Selena and claimed that she bought it for her. And that makes me think of what you had said before about the sexual energy. And so anyway, let me finish this. When she killed Selena, Selena had the ring in her hand. Like she had taken it off and ended the friendship and business relationship. It's like, not only are you not going to work for me, we're not friends anymore, and I'm taking your ring off.
When did this happen? Was that around between the 11th and 16th of March?
No, that happened when she took the ring off.
When did she take the ring off?
The day of her murder.
Oh, that was the day of the murder is when she...
Yes.
Okay, that was right on that day. Wow. Okay, now yeah.
Does that shine more light?
Now, yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Well, the thing about that was at that day of that murder, the Mars at that point in time, you had the sun, that sun in Aries at that point in time. It was by the one thing I do remember about that is it was by, again, Selena's. This was some of this
Do you
was
need
covered.
Selena's chart?
Selena's chart. What I want to talk about is that the transit sun was by Chiron at that point in time, and of course, Aries energy can be connected with gunfire, and so it shined light. There was, sadly, she was in the spotlight for something like that, and the sun, of course, is the physical body as well. So you can do the math on this. There was something. Well, what it was is.
Well, I'm not gonna do math.
But yeah, well,
I'll learn maybe.
Right, become learned with that, and we'll learn astrology. But anyway,
we'll learn the math.
The thing I wanted to talk about too was also I found interesting about Yolanda's chart. She has Neptune in the solar sunrise chart. She has Neptune in the second house. Well, the thing about that is, or just by itself, that can indicate some duplicitous practices monetarily and being deceptive in monetary matters. Scorpio energy, given, I mean, I understand it's generational, doesn't mean the sign. It doesn't mean the sign doesn't have any influence. I think it shows the surreptitious energy in connection with this stealing. It was very sneaky, more so than on average. And also at the time, transit North Node was right by that Neptune, her natal Neptune. And when you have a transit involving the North Node, it's not. I mean, it's about destiny in the future, but it could also be about issues that one has to confront. At that point in time, she was going to have to own it. I think how this manifested with her is that she had to own up to what she was doing. There was no getting around it at this point in time. So that is how I think that panned out. She really didn't have much choice in the matter. Another thing which stands out to me, okay, there's two, she has actually, Yolanda has two T-square configurations in this chart. One is mutable, and that consists of the Mars and Gemini opposing Jupiter and Sagittarius, both being squared by the worrisome Sun in Virgo energy. And the thing about that, and there's also another one, which of course could be subjective, as I stated before. Depends if you want to count the Black Moon Lilith in a T-square configuration.
I would.
I think it's pretty. I think the Black Moon Lilith has certain significance. I mean, if Chiron has significance, I would say the Black Moon Lilith does as well. The Black Moon Lilith, and this involves the Black Moon Lilith, you could make an argument, long opposition with Saturn and Capricorn in the fourth, both being squared by the Mercury in Libra as far as her configuration goes. When this murder took place, you know, when you talk about when significant events can often occur in someone's life, when you have a transit in astrology that makes an opposition to the focal point of a T-square configuration. On this day, she had two occur at the same time. She had one transit opposing the Mercury in Libra. That was the Sun in violent Aries at that time at like 10 or 11 degrees. A very close opposition by transit. Another one that took place at that time, there was something, I believe, with Pisces that was, I believe, Mercury in Pisces made an opposition in transit to her natal Sun in Virgo, which in Mercury, as you know, when it's in Pisces, it's in its detriment and fall. The thinking can be very chaotic and convoluted, and the emotions.
Could that make somebody lie?
Well, that's the deceptive part, but I think what you're looking at too, it also squared her natal Mars in Gemini, and what this does is when you have like a mutable T-square configuration activated, you're talking about very tremendous anxiety, worrisome energy at this time, and this was something at this time. You know, I saw something on Forensic Files once when people when their mind just goes haywire and they start losing all their composure and all their calmness is just dissipating to thin air. He referred to it as full tilt boogie mode. It's like, I think it's something like in a pinball game or something when it goes ding ding ding, and they call it, and that's what might have happened. I think that's what happened to Yolanda at this time. She just lost all control of all emotions. She just did something that she, out of impulse, that she said, "This is how I'm just going to take care of this."
Yeah, because she took the ring off, and then
became very irrational. She had become. You said taking the ring off, shooting her. She acted very impulsively. Yeah. Some of that was attributed to
the shot her by the door.
You had the moon and sun in Aries at that time, an impulsive Aries at that time. So that's a lot of impulsive energy, and that also activated the cardinal T-square configuration in her chart at that time, and that really is that's what I thought was really one of the things. That was a transits really stand out. I mean, I don't know mathematically what the odds are in this happening, but they're obviously very minuscule to have two T-squares in your chart being activated at the same day, at the near the same time, and having those oppositions from those transits made two different focal points of your T-squares at the same day. And unfortunately, this was just something where I think Yolanda just didn't know what else she was going to do at this time. She just did not even, she did not think about anything rational. And so go ahead.
I work at a school, so I always have to raise my hand when I have to say something. Right. Anyway, I was going to say, you don't even know the other part of what happened the day of the murder.
Okay.
So Selena had gone the night before with her husband. He drove her. Yolanda was going to give her the documents, the missing documents, which of course would have revealed her embezzlement. Anyways, she thought she got everything. At some point, Yolanda showed her a gun because she was like, I'm going to kill myself, and being all like, crazy. And then anyways, Selena got back in the car and her husband was like, okay, it doesn't matter that you're missing the documents tonight. We're not going back there. And then in the morning, Selena got up and left when her husband was still sleeping. And then she got to the Days Inn motel, and Yolanda concocted a story that she had been raped in Mexico when she was like trying to do something about Selena's boutique that right. Selena was planning to open in Monterrey, Mexico. And so she had gone back because that was like probably her last dealing with the whole thing. And so she concocted this story. Selena, being the Venus and Pisces and, just like completely like trusting person that she was, well, she was like, well, let's go to the ER because there's something wrong. But keep in mind, the whole thing about being found out about embezzling had already happened. And so when Selena took her to the ER, they did the whole exam on Yolanda the day of the murder. And the doctor pulled Selena aside and said, this woman's not been raped. Like, she's lied to you, basically. I don't know the exact words, obviously. But Selena was so pissed, and she went back. She drove Yolanda back to her motel, her hotel or whatever, and she called her husband on the way because she took his cell phone and her cell phone. This was back in 95, those big bulky cell phones. And so he didn't have a phone where she could call him if she was like in distress or in danger. And he was kind of blinded by this whole thing too. And so when she got back to the room, that's when Selena was like, this is over. You've lied to me. And like now, like, I guess it was revealed that she had lied to her again about a false assault. And Selena took off the ring. She turned around. She was leaving. And like you had said, she probably laid into her very good because she was a Sagittarius moon. And so after all that happened, Yolanda took the gun out and shot her. And Selena ran and shot her in the artery.
And going back to we'll reiterate a little bit on the previous video for the few of you that may not have seen that first one. At that time, transit Mars was in Leo. It had barely transitioned out of Selena's natal 7th house into her 6th house of employees. Mars in Leo, I mean, she had when the gunshot first entered her, it did enter her upper back, and Leo does rule the upper back. Mars transiting Leo can be about gunfire wounds as far as the upper back goes. And it's interesting how when that transit took place, again, going back to the fact it just transitioned from the 7th house of open adversaries into the 6th house of employees. Very interesting how it was very close to that 7th house. It was almost like an indicator that this was an employee that turned out to be an open enemy at the same time.
Open adversary.
Yep, open adversary at the same time.
I learned that.
Yeah, you learn. Hey, start a new series, learn vocabulary with Edwin Lerner as well. Be a new YouTube channel.
Because I speak Spanish fluently and English as well, but sometimes the vocabulary you use, I'm like, huh? What? Ooh. Hold on. Let me.
Where's that online thesaurus when you need it? Right?
Where's that dictionary?
You got to keep electronic talking dictionary handy by you when you listen to my videos, right? No, I'm kidding, of course. But anyway, some other things I may want to point out with.
I love him. He's so great.
But anyway, there's some other things, some basic things I want to point out in the chart. She has now. Yolanda has also Venus conjunct her Mercury in her chart in Libra, and this was a lot of this, I think, in her.
Where's that on here?
If you look at it right here, Mars Venus Libra conjunction, that could show that is actually, if you want to at least call Mercury part of that midpoint. The Venus can be part of that midpoint as well. Would be making a long square to the Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. But the midpoint, when you have a midpoint in the midpoint in a T-square configuration, could be that point of overemphasis, over-accentuation. It's what you're doing, what you use to find some resolution, to reconcile that energy that is connected with the opposition in that configuration. In this case, Mercury conjunct Venus can sometimes, I would say, be about even Mercury by itself, because Mercury is associated with thieves. Mercury by Venus can be very specific in connection with money. Being in Libra, she wanted to maybe balance the scales by doing so. She justified what she did by
blaming the dad.
Maybe convincing herself that she wasn't getting paid a fair amount of money. She used that Libra just to say, this is justice. This is what I actually really deserve. I mean, she may have convinced herself.
But it was conjuncting what?
Her Mercury is conjunct Venus in her chart.
Oh.
And Venus, of course, about money. Mercury could be about thieves and thievery. So when you have that and you have it in conjunction, it doesn't mean everybody, of course, most people that have a conjunction like that aren't going to be doing that. But at the same time, sometimes it can manifest itself in that way if you're driven down the wrong path. We all make our own choices in our life, and as I've stated, as so many of you know, have seen my videos, I talk about, at the end of a lot of videos, the stars may impel, they don't compel, they don't. No, but nothing forces us to do.
It always makes me feel better when I would see that. I was like, okay.
But the thing, right? I'm obviously not the one that originally came up with that. I'm just saying that in the videos. I don't know. But somebody came up with that along. But I'm still relaying the message. I'm carrying that message on. Maybe that's my moon in Gemini. I feel
You're
like
too
I
modest.
I got to do things by carrying messages on to others, and But anyway,
yeah.
We'll go back. Let's go to Yolanda. Some other things in Yolanda's chart. Now, she has the Scorpio on the third house cusp in the solar sunrise chart for her, and that could give very fixated, obsessive thinking right there. And she was obviously, I believe, very fixated with Selena.
She had like a shrine before she killed her in her apartment.
She has the ruler of that third house in the 12th house of the self-undoing. So this was really, this fixation turned out to really be to her detriment. And also the 12th house is the house of imprisonment and incarceration as well. And also, sometimes when people have something like the rule of the third in the 12th house, or the reverse of that, the ruler of the 12th house in the third, it could show some dissolving or dissipation of rational thinking. And I think maybe that's how it panned out with her. She also has other indicators to reaffirm. She has all that 12th. She has a number of those planets. She has Pluto and the moon in the 12th house. That could give. I mean, I don't know this for a fact. I don't know if Yolanda had actually any mental illness. But the indicator that I'm looking at, even though it's a solar sunrise chart, Pluto and the moon in the 12th house could show really some kind of strong obsessive compulsive behavior and worry with all that worrisome Virgo type energy. And I mean, Virgo is very timely and punctual, so you could do the math. I mean, she probably, if she had that, if she did have that illness, this was something that went on very timely. This was something that she did, is very, I would say, be very consistent now. But I don't know. I don't know this for her, but it would not surprise me if she had some kind of issue with that.
You know what? I won't be politically correct. I will agree with you on that. I do believe that she lost touch with reality and lost touch with her mind and all that. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not as articulate as Mr. Edwin.
And the thing is, now
I'm used to singing in front of the camera.
Also, Jupiter is in the third house in the solar sunrise chart. Now, as I've stated in some of my astrological videos, but here's the thing: Jupiter could be paradoxical, be very benign. It's very benevolent, be very positive energy, but sometimes it can enlarge and expand things. Now, with Jupiter and Sagittarius in the third house, sometimes it can expand and enlarge rather self-righteous, over-optimistic type thinking at this time. And I think, for her, maybe that's how it manifested. She might have really thought she was really going to get away with all she did, and it didn't. It did not pan out. Foolhardy thinking as well.
Was probably not going to catch on, but then her father caught on.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that was managing her career. And he wasn't involved in Selena's, her other businesses that she wanted to embark on.
Right.
He was just involved in her music. And so he took a look-see. He looked and found out, oh, wow, there's $30,000 missing. And they confronted her, and then all that took place.
Right. And And it just again going back to this. I mean, obviously such a terrible tragedy in this, and going to the Scorpio on the third house cusp. This could also indicate thinking connected with maniacal jealousy. That I really wonder if there was a part of her that might have really been not just obsessed and strongly fixated with Selena. Was she very strongly jealous of her?
Yes.
Perhaps it could have been.
You know
she
what?
wanted to be. She may have wanted to be.
Because she was a nobody.
Right.
And Selena was like 10 years younger than her, at least. And she was just a mediocre person, plain Jane. She got on the Tejano music scene. Yolanda did.
Right.
Would go to concerts of Selena and was like, and again, slithered her way into
her. Well, I think we're basically riding her
like
coattails is how I would put it too. You're taking somebody that's famous and you're riding their coattails more or less, and you're using their fame to help propel you somehow into some kind of notoriety for you to become famous as a result of their fame being connected with them. And the thing is, it's a shame you'll see a lot of people do that instead of people trying to establish their own legacy through their own merit and what they can maybe do to give themselves some kind of acclaim and fame. They'll just, again, ride the coattails of someone else and use somebody else's fame to just kind of push them into notoriety and limelight, so to speak. So then that's, I think, very likely what Yolanda was doing, was using her. I mean, based on this sad aftermath, I think that really helps confirm that what was going on with her.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
Gosh. Terrible. Just is so sad.
And especially being so young too, and for this
23.
The prime, you're in a, you're basically, I mean, she's just getting started, and
I was an idiot when I was 23. I don't know about everybody else, but
right.
I was not like signed to a major record deal and making Coca-Cola advertisements and all that. She was advertising Coca-Cola.
And going back to the Selena's chart, she had, if I remember, the ruler of the 10th house in the 8th house, which is similar to what, ironically, to what Yolanda has with the ruler in this in the solar sunrise show, ruler of the 8th house and the 10th house. Both of them may have actually become more famous after this moment, sadly, that took place at this time. Especially Yolanda, because of her the infamy. Selena obviously had great notoriety and fame, and she was very renowned singer at that point in time. And sometimes somebody's going to do something like this, and it gets them right on, and they go to Wikipedia for doing something infamous. And this is a classic case of that.
Well, that's so sad. But thank you so much for coming on here and
no problem.
Trying to explain like this. I don't think anybody is ever really gonna understand like what happened, like, and that's why I wanted to dive into the astrology behind it, because there's just no logic behind it. Just like a bunch of murders that, in the future I want to cover, but astrology related, and I want to learn with Edwin Lerner.
Become learned in astrology with Edwin Lerner.
You have to say that. He says that to me like all the time because I say it wrong. Learned. Right?
Right. Become learned in astrology. Edwin Lerner. Oh, now you're starting to think my last name is pronounced learned, is what you're saying, right? I didn't. Okay, now I see what you're saying.
Edwin Lerner.
Well, see, that my new slogan is confusing you. I think you're starting to think, because I say become learned in astrology, I learned that learned is my last name as opposed to Lerner. So I think that's causing some confusion. So I understand that. Maybe, I guess that has something to do with it.
I have no idea.
I'm guessing that's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe.
It's obviously, for whatever reason, you're getting learned confused with learned is the one thing that's definite in this.
It's just so crazy because, like, I speak, like, multiple languages, so I'm like,
Oh, another thing I'm seeing too, I wanted to just touch upon one thing, is that I'm looking at the Chiron position, talking about the synastry with Yolanda and Selena. Chiron in Aquarius is in the first house anyway of Selenas, of the physical body. Now, I don't think there were wounds to anything Aquarius related, such as the ankles or shins due from Yolanda. But what this can indicate is that this person still could have harmed her as far as the physical body. It can indicate physical wounds when someone's Chiron is in your first house. Go ahead.
I beg to differ, because the day of the murder, when Selena was shot, she was critically shot in the artery.
Okay.
And she was so scared. She ran for her life.
Right.
And Yolanda came out and shouted the B word to her.
Right.
And Selena was bleeding out from the artery.
Okay.
And she ran, like, gosh, through the pool, through, like, everything to get to the lobby.
Right.
And she was so scared. So you can imagine her heart was beating so fast because she had ran for her life.
Right.
And she succumbed to her wounds, unfortunately, on the lobby floor while they were calling 911.
But I'm not sure what you differed with, because
she did
but there was nothing.
Use her legs and her shins and everything to run.
Indirectly there was limitations with the shins and ankles mobility due to the fact
she had not run.
You could say indirectly there was a connection with that. And the fact, and Aquarius is very unpredictable, unusual energy, so this came more of a shock and surprise to her than the average. And Chiron is also about friendship as well. So given this is a friend that caused this wound as well. So you can blend the sign, and the sign played a role in this, and it's interesting. If you look at Chiron degree, it's almost at 29 degrees, which is a critical degree, which 29 degrees in astrology can symbolize endings. It can be it could be one that was very bizarre and shocking to her. At this time, and it's retrograde, and I don't think. She did not obviously hurt herself physically, but she obviously did something that was self-inflicted.
Are we talking about Yolanda?
Yeah, we're talking about Yolanda's chart. Yeah, what I'm talking about.
Oops.
Yeah,
I meant Selena. That she ran.
What I was talking about was Yolanda's Chiron in Aquarius was in the first house of Selena's. As far as the synastry goes, I was explaining that that could show a propensity in some cases to cause the wounds to that other person that has the Chiron causing the wounds to the other person's chart.
Makes so much
sense. That's what I was basically saying.
Okay,
and that's why there was. although you were right, you may be right in a way, because even though what happened was given, Chiron is in Aquarius in Yolanda's chart. The wounds that were caused to Selena, again reiterating that were not directly, did not cause any harm to her shins or ankles or anything Aquarius related, but indirectly it may have caused some issues with that, because she was not able to use that energy, the ankles and shins that in that area may have been weakened at that time, and she was not able to do to get away.
Let me ask you this: because they say, had Selena not ran, she would have survived.
Okay.
But she ran.
Right. And the ankles can be connected with the movement and mobility.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I got you then. Yeah.
Right. And so it was indirectly caused.
Oh yeah. True.
Man, what a shame. And you know what? Selena is forever remembered in a positive light, and I honestly thank you for going over all this astrology that I would not have, comprehended ever. I just, want to learn like everything. So I appreciate you. Thank you, friend.
And I appreciate the fact that you appreciate me and that I'm able to come on here. And
Gemini moon, of course.
How to
I
get that in.
appreciate that you appreciate me.
I had to say something that was at least slightly witty, right? You knew it. I had to.
Well,
You know, it's funny. Ironically, this is all going off on the Gemini moon tangent here, people. Was when I was working in a retail store one time, ironically enough, another Gemini moon said to me one time, he said, "You have a wisecrack for everything."
You do.
And I mean, it's funny that he would actually say that to me. I mean, it's like the pot calling the kettle black with a Gemini moon saying that to another one. But anyway, I thought that was funny. But anyway,
well,
I want to say
he
one
didn't
thing.
want to like agree with what your Gemini moon was saying. It
Right,
was his alter ego.
Yeah, it was the other. It was
person.
the other person saying that. That could be. But you know, I wanted to say one thing, like with Selena. Just remember, of course, Selena may be long and gone, but may her memory and her music last forever. Her legacy will not be tainted, obviously, and legacy will be very strong for years to come.
And I had a candle lit this whole time for her, and our Virgencita. Even though Selena was not Catholic, but that's neither here nor there, right?
No. I think it's...
Well, thank you so much again. And you guys, honestly, like, can you follow this man? You will become very
learned in astrology with Edwin Lerner.
I'm just going to let him say it. I'm like Lenny.
Lenny. Like you could say that again, right?
Okay. Well, you guys have a great night, and thank you for watching. And
thanks for having me here once again.
Oh, honestly, the pleasure is all mine because, yeah,
all right.
Selena's very special. So, thank you.